pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
to the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Council, I need a motion on the work session minutes from June the 5th.
Motion to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
6 with 1 abstention.
Okay.
Got it.
Need a motion on the regular council minutes for the 5th of June.
Motion to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, you're up, please, sir.
Thank you so much. We've had a busy day today. We talked at the work session about the 3 announcements we made, so I won't repeat those tonight. But we, in the spirit of the activities, thank you, in the spirit of the activities of bringing hotel rooms to Montgomery and filling them up, we've got an event coming up here the 25th through the 29th of this month that is going to have the Southeastern Association of Fire Chiefs. Fire Chiefs Conference has been going on for 90 years. That's a long time for firefighters. And I'd ask that Chief Mifford Jordan would join us because he represents, come on, Mifford. You can tell he's shy, he's reserved, he's not a leader or anything like that. He represents the finest of the best in Alabama and certainly in Montgomery with this ISO rating. But these southeastern states and also the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico are going to be here. Going to open on Tuesday. There'll be 260 in attendance, 210 fire stations, fire officers, and 50. We'll have 1,600 room nights that night, which will be an economic boom, along with a lot of exhibitors here. And it's going to be a good opportunity for us to celebrate and to show off Montgomery, Alabama. And following that, wrong slide, following that, we're going to have the Region Fire Combat Challenge. Mike, who is that? Randy? Wrong picture. We're going to have the Regional Fire Combat Challenge. And what I wanted Mifford to do is to stand here and tell you how important it is for his department to be the reigning champion for the Fire Combat Challenge. Mifford, if you would do that, I appreciate it. I know that's a curve, but you can handle it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always important for us to be the leaders in the state of Alabama, but then it's very proud to represent the city of Montgomery and departments around this region from 13 different states, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, looking at Montgomery, Alabama as being the benchmark for the fire service. That makes me very proud. So each and every day, the members of the Montgomery Fire Rescue work hard to be #1 in each and everything we do. So hosting this conference through the help of the Chambers of Commerce, Dawn Hathcock, we couldn't have done it without her help. It's an honor to host this conference. And so we have surpassed numbers that has been posted for the last 10 years of the cities that's hosting this conference. So we're proud to do that. And also the Comeback Challenge, that makes me very proud because we try to do a lot of social media and let everyone know how fit we are. That's a very hard challenge to make. And so with the Comeback Challenge, it's a way of presenting our city and our fire department as being the most fit department in the country. So thank you very much.
Well, stay with us because that leads us straight into one of the things that we're going to be doing tonight that our firefighters had demonstrated some of that training very recently when they had the opportunity to save a person's life. I'd like to read from this. Philip Jones is the individual in the fire engine 5 cardiac arrest. On Wednesday, April 25th at 6:33 p.m., engine 5 was dispatched to 2780 East Gunter Park Drive on a cardiac arrest call. They arrived on the scene at 6:36 and found members of the Montgomery Bicycle Club performing CPR. And we have many of the Bicycle Club members tonight on one of their fellow members, Mr. Philip Jones. Mr. Jones is an avid cyclist and just completed an event at Lagoon Park. Richard Bollinger has been very active in developing that whole park, along with lots of other volunteers and some of the city's money to be able to do that, but a very small amount. After confirming that Mr. Jones was not breathing and had no pulse, the personnel of Engine 5 began advanced life support procedures and took over CPR from the bicyclers while also connecting the cardiac monitor defibrillator. Mr. Jones' heart was in VFib. VFib is short for ventilation fibrillation and is the most serious cardiac rhythm disturbance. The lower chambers of the heart just quiver and the heart can't pump any blood, causing cardiac arrest. Engine 5's personnel defibrillated Mr. Jones with a 120 jolt shock. The shock reset Mr. Jones's heart and it started to pump again. Engine 5 continued to give Mr. Phillips oxygen and IV fluids until Haynes ambulance arrived and transported him to the hospital. Is Philip Jones here tonight? Where is he? Philip, come on up here. We want to. This gentleman contacted the fire and wanted to be sure and have an appropriate way to thank Engine 5. But in so doing, I know you're thanking those fellow bicyclists that played a large role. But every one of the bicyclists that are in the bicycle club here, stand up. Let's give these guys a round of applause. While they bicycle for strength and agility and pleasure, at the same time having known cardiac arrest procedures and CPR, I know went a long way, along with the professionals that have arrived to give you life-saving support, and I know you might want to say a word.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mayor and council members, I appreciate the opportunity to take a minute and say a few words, and still a very emotional time for me, and hope I can get through this, but there are some things I would like to say. And as he described in this narrative, I had just completed a bicycle race, a regular Wednesday night activity of the Montgomery Bicycle Club around the Gunner Park Drive. And there were about 30 participants that night, and I was one of the early starters. The racers started at 1 minute intervals, so there were racers on the course, the race is still to ride. When I finished, I finished my race. I pulled into the parking lot right across the street from the J.R. Smith Manufacturing Company. And as it turns out, my wife, Anita, was doing some of the volunteer officiating. She was timing the starters. And so I pulled up to the back of my truck on my bike, got off the bike. It was my intent to go ahead and put the bike on the rack, and that's the last thing I remember. So from here forward, what I'm saying is what I was told. But I passed out, I fell. Another bike club member standing nearby alerted Anita. She was about 30 feet away. David Stanker over there was the one who did that. David, stand up, buddy. You were definitely instrumental, thank you. Anyway, Anita rushed over. She's a medical professional, 40 years, and so she immediately observed that there was a serious problem. Had one of the other folks call 911, and she started CPR. And Greg Gardner and Wes Marcus, both whom recently stood sitting right here, were the two guys who did the chest compressions while Anita did the mouth-to-mouth. And I later told Wes, thanks for not volunteering to do the mouth-to-mouth. But nonetheless, and I was going to make a pun by saying I appreciate your hand in my survival, but I appreciate your participation in my survival. The 911 call was responded to very quickly. The station was just about a quarter mile away at Lagoon Park, and where the gentleman that responded.
We're going to.
Okay. Well, it was
to come up in a
great. It was. Let me make sure the name was Lieutenant Aldridge.
Well, here it is. Lieutenant Aldridge, Sergeant Johnson, Firefighter Smith, and Firefighter McMicken. We're going to give them a certificate, and we're going to have a picture made with you and the City Council.
Right.
How about that?
Well, they responded very, very quickly.
Oh, good. Come on up. Come on up. No, go ahead. Give these guys.
And I did meet them briefly before the meeting, and I didn't get a handshake. I got a hug, which was much more important. So thank you, guys. But what occurred from that point was their response, very professional, very efficient, very thorough. Their expertise literally saved my life. They applied the defibrillator, which restarted my heart, and I was later transported to Baptist. And after some hospitalization and a couple of heart procedures and enough heart casting out to set off the metal detector out front, here I am. So I know you guys would say you are only doing your job as public servants, and I was actually a public servant many years ago in another city, and I would say the same. But what you do is so vitally important and so appreciated by not only me, my wife and my family, and all the people who were saying prayers for me, but I know there's such a large community out there that maybe don't get the opportunity to say thank you. So I know thank you is probably not adequate, but God bless you, and now you're all my adopted sons.
There's nothing I can add to that. We have some certificates that we're going to present. John Petrie is behind me, and Kenny Boland's behind me. I think they may have something for you, but we're going to present some certificates, get some pictures, and then with the city council, if that's okay. And what you have just said, Philip, is absolutely correct. What they represent is Montgomery's finest. This was their job. They did their job well. They are representative of the 420 or so firefighters that we have that every day go to that firehouse ready to do whatever it takes to save life in Montgomery, Alabama. And we appreciate your support, appreciate you acknowledging them.
Good. Good job.
Good training.
Okay.
If I could have Councilman Tracy Larkin join me. Tracy Larkin has that radio and TV voice. He should be doing this because I don't have a radio voice. But Tracy suggested a month or so ago that there was an unsung hero here of the bus boycott era. And tonight we're honoring Mr. Lee Kennedy, the unsung hero for the Montgomery bus boycott. And if I may, let me read to you the story of Lee Kennedy. Today we're privileged to honor a true American hero. As a result of Montgomery's unique twin histories, and by that we mean the Civil War and the modern civil rights movement, as a result of those twin histories, Montgomery is arguably and I'm going to take away arguably, is in fact the most historic city in the United States. As a matter of fact, USA Today said we were the best historic city, and the difference is the most means old, best means best from that standpoint. But we think most historic city is more appropriate given the significance of the events that emanated from here, events that have had a lasting impact upon the world. The true American hero that we pay respect to today would by all accounts be considered an unsung hero. According to a book that is being written about his life, he would say that he is a typical person who found himself in unusual circumstances. Mr. Lee Kennedy was the third black bus driver hired to drive a Montgomery city bus after the events of the Montgomery bus boycott. That's he with John Lewis. Mr. Kennedy's life and work were feted recently by his family and hundreds of friends as he celebrated his 90th birthday. Is he here tonight? Is that him? God, Lord have mercy, Mr. Kennedy. Would you please join us here? As he came up, I just told him, I said, I was looking around for an old man, and I couldn't find one, but delighted to have him here. The ripe old age of 90, he is the last surviving member of that exclusive club of the original African-American bus drivers in Montgomery. Even though hiring black bus drivers was one of the original demands made by boycott organizers, it took over 6 years after the boycott ended that the first drivers were actually hired. As stated earlier, Mr. Kennedy is the third one hired. One can only imagine that it must have been like, what it must have been like to be subjected to the level of scrutiny that would come naturally in assuming this controversial position as a bus driver, which at the time paid a whopping $2 an hour. Was that even a living wage? Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all the citizens of this great city of Montgomery, I am pleased to present this mayoral proclamation to a genuine and true American history, Mr. Lee Kennedy, the man behind the wheel, on the occasion of the anniversary of his 90th birthday. Happy birthday, Lee, and we thank you for your service, your courage, your commitment to make this world a better and more just place for all of us. Congratulations to you. This is signed by not only the mayor, but Tracy Larkin, councilman for District 3. Tracy, thank you. Yeah. And normally what we would do is read this, but it's too small, I can't read it. You probably can, but there's 6 whereases, and one now therefore, do hereby proclaim that the legacy of Mr. Lee Kennedy was established for himself and all who he encounters along the 90-year milestone, which he has reached and recorded with great pride and joy. Congratulations. Thank you. Would you like to say a word?
I want to thank you all for just letting me come out to see that I did the best I could. And congratulations to all of you. And I had a little correction. I'm just one of the first black bus drivers. I'm not the first one, but I'm the third one. I think the first 2 were dead, but I thank God for letting me live a little while longer. Thank you.
Go ahead. Then we want to get the picture with all the city council, please. You got it? Let's go get a picture with the city council, Mr. Kennedy.
Oh,
Kelvin Miller. Kelvin Miller is the general manager of the Transit Authority from First Transit. He also had something for you.
One of the honors that I've had as a general manager is I've had the opportunity to break bread with Mr. Kennedy when I first got here. And I want to say on behalf of the M Transit, it was Montgomery City Lines when Mr. Kennedy drove. We're proud of the accomplishment that he made. Without the sacrifices that he made, I wouldn't be the general manager of the M Transit system here today. So I appreciate and I pay honor to the sacrifices that he made on behalf of all of us. And I wish he would come out and break bread with us again. We still have Thanksgiving dinner, so you're always welcome to come eat with us. We have a plaque on behalf of the M. It reads, "This award is presented to Lee Kennedy in recognition of your historical significance as one of the first black bus operators for the Montgomery City Lines." It was actually presented on his birthday of May 27, 2018, and we're here to represent it to you in this form. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Mr. President, that completes the...
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, first item on the agenda, please.
Mr. President, item 1, resolution adopting the fiscal year 2018 action plan and application to HUD.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I wanted to talk about this before we suspend the rules on it, that I would like, Mr. President, some sort of commitment from the mayor or the CDBG group or something that the property over in Carriage Hills will be considered for the next fiscal year when the new money comes out for the CDBG.
Can you commit to that, Mayor?
I can commit to continue the process of trying to move towards having a community center there. As you know, we've purchased the property, we've taken the property down. That has to be put in context of all of the other requests that are out there. For me to be able to say tonight that it's going to be there, I don't know that I can do that because, first of all, we don't have a clue how much money we're going to get. We don't know what the CDBG programs are going to look like, and these people do more than 95% of the work. Frankly, I, nor Mac or Barry or any of us really do approve anything. You guys do that. But I suspect that they've had a conversation with you and will put that into the priority issue. The bigger issue is not the capital expense, it's the operational expense. And so to the extent that we have to expend additional funds there versus a police officer or a fire officer, we just have to get into those type of scenarios in that next budget cycle. So my commitment is I'll be more than happy to be guided by what our staff recommends to us.
I would also like to request, I understand that you can't commit to one particular thing right now, but what I think the issue was that by the time it was brought to us, it was almost too late and we had to act, else otherwise we lose all the money. So what I would like a commitment from is that we back the process up. In other words, instead of coming to us one meeting before the deadline, maybe before you all commit to whatever you're going to commit, maybe you can come to the council and allow us to even bring some of our issues to the table, or at least check with our people so that we can let them know that this CDBG money is available, as opposed to, you know, commitments that were made before some of us were even on the council, and you all just moving with this because you all made the commitment 5 years ago.
We can make that commitment, but
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
can make that commitment. Unfortunately, I don't speak for these gentlemen and lady, but sometimes we don't even know the amount of monies that we're going to get until a late time frame. So
okay.
From that standpoint, you want to speak on the timing and the commitment and getting with the city council in a kind of a work session to talk about those issues?
Yeah, I think we can work toward that.
the problems that we've been having the last few years, that the allocations have been coming later and later and later this year.
And less and less and less.
And less and less and less. So we were really kind of up against a tight schedule this time. We'll do whatever we can to.
Let me ask the question. There's a request process early on before that you've got requests sitting in files today for money in the future, is that correct?
Right.
And how are those requests made?
Well, we have a public hearing where we actually sent out to.
But who makes the application for that?
Who makes the applications?
The people wanting the money.
Generally,
No, my point is that made by the council member in that district, or is that made by Family Sunshine Center?
it's made by Family Sunshine or any organization that's interested in applying.
Okay. So you got organizations that are requesting the money, and they're doing an application process that you're qualified along the way. What I'm asking you now is, how do they get into the line of the application process for those monies? Because I think that the applications that you've already got can be reviewed at any time.
Yes, sir. We have a database where everybody who's interested in applying to our funds, they know when the public hearings are. I think in the past, we've invited you all to our public hearings.
I think the council members need to be there. Okay.
I will be there.
Okay, that's what you need. That's what you need to do, because there's a process here to get this money qualified, and these people step in line way back yonder. And it's been going on for 23 years I've been involved.
Yes.
I've seen they get their applications in and they qualify.
These applications were turned in November of 2017. We just got word from HUD 30 days ago of what our actual allocation would be.
Okay. But the reality of it is, if the council members wanted to see what those applications are,
Yes.
or put in an application for money, they need to go ahead and do it like in this year right now. Say, okay, we'll put an application in.
We will send every one of you guys an email probably in August of our public hearing. Our public hearing is usually in August or 1st of September.
Okay, great,
But
yeah,
it's an
because,
application process.
Mr. President, but I want to address, and I know we don't have a very long agenda, and we're going to get out of here, but couple things that the mayor commented on, the amount of monies. I know that the monies have gone down each year, but we also had a commitment to the Housing Authority for $1.5 million or whatever it was, that I don't know if I don't think this council voted on that commitment to the Montgomery Housing Authority. And the money that comes out of CDBG can be used in anybody's district that the money qualifies for, whether it be paving or putting in these, quote, satellite educational centers in neighborhoods. And I'm not talking about basketball and football and all that. I'm talking about educational centers. So this council, we can direct where this money goes if we so choose.
You have directed it every year.
I understand,
We've
Mayor,
had CDBG.
and I understand, and listen, that comes to my next point. Some of us have been team players for a long time, to and including Patterson Field, to and including the $5 million on the paving money. I mean, I want to hit leadoff and play shortstop. I'm tired of being a team player. So, you know, I think that this council, if you guys want some of this money for your district, whether it be paving, whether it be an educational center, or whatever, you need to be at that August meeting.
Exactly
And from
right.
what I also heard the mayor said, is that he's really not in charge of that department, so if you guys are going to go ahead and commit to help him with this project, since the mayor said, quote, I'm really not in charge of that, these guys and girls are, will you guys help me build this in District 8?
We would certainly love to meet with you, Councilman Pruitt, to go through the process and help you plan.
If I was in charge of this organization, there are two organizations that would have been funded, but they are not funded because they will not agree that they meet the criteria to receive the funds, so therefore they have told me no repeatedly for the last 5 years.
And I appreciate that, Mayor, so that's why I'm asking them, and I heard them say that they're going to help me figure out how to get this done in the next CDBG money.
and one more quick question, I know we gotta move on.
That's in the minutes.
Within the
One more
guidelines
quick
and
question.
regulations.
As long as it's
When
an
you say-
eligible activity.
When you say that this money can also be directed toward paving,
Yes.
Does that, I mean, if I want to move directly toward paving, so is that not the case? Because I know he stated a couple of times. What organization do we need to say, can we have to submit a bid to get it to paving? How would we do that? How would I get extra
The
paving
only
money?
infrastructure improvements that can be made with CDBG funds are in low-income areas only.
Give me my whole-
Hell, that
And
goes
there may
District
be a
6.
street that goes from between one eligible census tract and block group to one that is non-eligible, and a formula has to be figured to see if it fits. And it also has to be 51% or greater a residential area.
Okay.
So if it's mostly commercial, we cannot
Okay,
pave
yeah.
it.
And the other thing that you also have to be aware of too, that when you make a request, it also has to fit into our goals and objectives that are in our consolidated plan. So if it don't fit in those goals that have been approved by HUD, then we can't fund it, so.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's good.
Okay, I think we got a better understanding.
I want one question. I want to ask one question. I want to address it to the mayor. With these, are you telling me, Mayor, that you don't have the authority to use these funds in the way that you want, but it's based on what the city council says? Cliff, am I hearing you correctly?
They recommend you approve.
Wait a minute. Who is they?
Just two
No.
groups here,
We
including.
have to take it before council for resolution.
Yeah, I understand that. My question is, they recommend, but my question is to you. Can you use these funds without city council approval?
No,
No.
no.
Well, then why is there a recommendation? I don't understand it. Why is there a recommendation? If it has to come to a city council, why should it be a recommendation? I don't understand that.
It's more of approval, but the reality, I go back to the point, Fred, is that they have to be, every project has to be qualified according to what HUD's rules are.
I understand that, but my question is, why should that have to be a recommendation? I mean, if it has to be approved, then it has to be approved. It shouldn't have to be a recommendation. And I don't want to give them, I don't want to give up any of my authority, but I'm under the impression that you can, Mayor, on your own, use those funds, direct those funds. But you're saying I'm wrong. Okay.
I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, because I don't know, but I'll just say this. I've never used any funds from CDBG.
Well, let's not
without
just
y'all's
say
approval.
you Mayor Strange, just say the mayor's office.
I don't think the mayor has that authority. I think it's rested with the council.
There's a
I
public
think we
process
do.
that has to go through.
Okay, we can argue on that.
There's a public
wanna stay
there's a
in
public
midnight?
process that it has to go
Trying to
through.
clarify something next year.
And you will notify,
Advertisement, input, any comments that are received, they have to be included with our plan and that kind of thing. So
and you
there's-
will notify the
More
council?
questions?
You will notify the council when that's,
Yes,
okay.
don't notify us, okay?
We'll
All
see
right,
you in
any
August or September.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
motion to suspend the rules.
Have a motion to suspend the rules, all in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt,
Motion to adopt.
all in favor, raise your hand.
6.
Get to see y'all.
Are you abstaining or
No,
voting no?
No.
No.
Yep.
6 with 1 no. Resolution is adopted. Item 2 is in compliance and withdrawn.
Yeah, item 2 is withdrawn.
Item 3, resolution denying and or revoking right to operate a business for failure to purchase business license. Brian Moore doing business at Tender Chicks, 5951 Atlanta Highway. We'll suspend the rules on this one, and then we'll do the substitute.
Hey, I need a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Now I need a substitute.
We need a motion to adopt and then a motion to
Yeah, motion to
substitute.
adopt.
Motion to adopt.
All right, now I need a motion to substitute.
Motion to substitute.
All right.
And so the people will know this is a resolution revoking the business license and then authorizing a show cause hearing.
Show
Okay.
cause meeting now. All right, all in favor of the motion to
Substitute.
show cause,
To adopt the show-
substitute.
yes, sir.
Motion, vote on substitute. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Now voting on the main motion, raise your hand.
Unanimous. The
right.
resolution is adopted
Now
as
substitute.
substituted.
Okay.
Item 4, application for a restaurant retail liquor license by Acapulco's Mexican Restaurant, 6132 Atlanta Highway.
Representative for Acapulco, please. I believe that'd be you. Your name for the record, sir.
Lorenzo Reyes Barragan.
This is a public hearing. Anyone like to speak against this item, please come forward.
Lorenzo Reyes Barragan.
Okay, very good. Seeing none, declare the public hearing's been held. It's brought before the council. Need a motion?
Move to suspend the rules.
Got a motion to suspend the rules. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is
Good luck with your
adopted.
business, sir.
Thank you.
Item 5, application for special events retail liquor license, doing business as Independence Day at Blunt Park at 3 Festival Drive.
Oh,
Scott Miller.
that's who you are. Okay, good to see. Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone like to speak against this item? Line up. Seeing none, declare the public hearing's been held. Brought before the council. Need a motion?
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Motion to adopt.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman, Mr. President and Councilman.
Good luck with the event, sir.
Fix the
Out
field.
here, leisurely day there.
Item 6, pursuant to Section 1153B1 Code of Alabama, authorization of demolition of unsafe structures at the listed locations.
Need a motion to uphold.
Motion to uphold.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Item 7, resolution assessing the cost of abatement of unsafe structures on various lots.
And we got that on the Tell us what you got this week.
Well, the item number 7 is the cost on demolitions.
Okay.
Which I can give you a briefing on the demolition numbers as well, as far as what's been approved and what's been demolished to date. The demolition numbers, we've had 75 properties approved by council thus far. Of those 75, 40 have already been demolished.
Okay.
There's another 22 that are permitted by the contractor and are in the process of demolition, and the remainder are either out for bid or are currently going through the environmental asbestos testing.
Very good, very good.
And how much time does the new requirement of environmental asbestos testing add to the process in terms of weeks?
At a minimum, it's a 10 business day wait. If it is found not to have asbestos before a contractor can demolish the structure. If it's found to have asbestos, again, we would bid it out to a remediation contractor who would have the same 10-day wait, and then usually you would look at another 10-day period for his completion.
1 month.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to bring that out is because last year, if you remember, we had more torn down, but with the new environmental, it takes a bit longer to accomplish that.
Yes, sir. And it's also increased our cost a little bit with the testing and abatement.
You know, we ought to put that old Gunner Annex, not Gunner Maxwell Annex, and Maxwell Heights thing on the look-see again. You know,
Yes, sir.
that's a mess out there off
I thought we did
of Airbase Boulevard. So put that on your agenda. Need a motion to suspend the rules of 7 and 8.
Motion to suspend the rules and rest of the agenda.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Hold on, Mr. President. Did we not, didn't I just come up? Yeah, but haven't we started the process on that?
Well, Maxwell Heights.
We're moving on that, but we got to determine the magnitude of asbestos before we
Okay.
grab
I
a
got
hold
you.
of that.
All right. Need a motion to adopt? 7.
Yes, sir.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted. Item 8, resolution declaring, authorizing, and assessing cost of abatement of public nuisances on various lots.
Need a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Okay, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir, I've put before you some contingency funds, which the mayor has approved. District 1, $1,000 to Macoa. District 2, $3,000 to Macoa. District 7, $500 to Macoa.
Okay. Anybody got anything else?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to do 500 to Macoa, Madam Clerk.
All right, anybody else? Need a motion to adopt these.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Okay? Good. All right, in our,
Mr. President,
yes, sir?
before we get there, can I
Yeah,
pass these out?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. Pruitt?
I'm passing out, Madam Clerk, and I'm gonna give it to you. Mr. President, that is a draft of a curfew ordinance that I wanted to give to you guys tonight so we could bring it up at our next city council meeting. And how I see this, Mr. President, is that from there, I'd like to put it into committee. We just form an ad hoc committee. Mr. Bollinger and Mr. Larkin, if they'd be willing to sit on it. If anybody else would like to sit on it,
Three-man committee to, so you got it court.
okay. And what we'll do is, after next council meeting, we'll put it into committee, and then we'll have some open discussions and public debate about it.
Can I get a soft copy of it?
Yes, did I give you a copy?
Now, can you email it to me?
Yeah. You better.
You better scan that. I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. All right, all right.
You get the clerk to get it to you. Okay, on our agenda, public communication non-agenda items,